All right, so today in class, we are going to be introducing the project, okay? Your project is going to be due, let's take a look. Semester project is due on May 5th. Okay, so we go backwards. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 weeks from now, okay? And don't get fooled to think that, oh my gosh, I have 11 weeks, I can not focus on this project. I've got other things I need to work on, okay? So in the past, when I've done this project, I've let students do the recipes at their own leisure, just as long as they got it done by the end of the semester, okay? Then I realized a lot of students are just like me, that if there's not a due date on it, then it's easy for me to put that off, okay? And so there are due dates on specific project recipes. If you look on the syllabus in Canvas, anything that has a menu set number 2 next to it is a recipe within the project, okay? So recipes are, again, our menu set number 2. They do not go in order of the menu set. So you'll notice that we have like the dessert sauce, we have the bread, the soup. So they're all kind of in different orders. I've kind of tried to be strategic in putting some of the more easy recipes up front. And then the more challenging ones, and then also maybe a little bit more easy ones kind of peppered in towards the end as well. So please do not fall behind on these recipes because this project in total is worth 30% of your grade, okay? So the recipes are worth 20% of your grade. The actual end result project that you turn in is worth 10% of your grade. And so combined total is 30%. It's really important to get this project, okay? For those of you who are culinary and restaurant management majors, you'll do a similar project in a later class. This is kind of introducing you to that. Everybody else, this is just good information to know, okay? Questions, comments, concerns so far? So let's delve in and let's talk about our project. But before I do that, we will not have class on Wednesday. Okay, on Wednesday the 19th, we will not meet in class. Okay. I will let me look at my calendar real quick just to make sure I don't misspeak. Yeah, I will not, I'll actually be traveling, so I will not actually even log in to Zoom for that day, for Wednesday. Okay, so I'm going to Houston for a conference on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm traveling on Wednesday. And because I'm not having class on Thursday, that means we won't meet on our class on Wednesday. So I can keep our classes together. Okay, so we will not have class. You do not need to log into Zoom. I will give you your quizzes for the project as your assignment for class, and that will count as your attendance. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns about that? Okay. Cool. So let's look at our project. Everything you need is going to be in the semester project module. Okay. Now I'm going to move this module up to the top after our recorded lectures module. That way you don't have to scroll down and try to find it. Okay. So let's first talk about what our project is going to be. In this project, we are going to determine what we should sell our menu items or our recipes. Let me take the back, sorry. We're going to determine what we should sell our whole four-course menu, what price we should sell it for, okay? Now, the information on here is a little bit outdated because when we were in our old building, which is when I developed this project, we sold lunch at $9 and dinner was sold at $12. So now our lunch is sold for $15 if it's downstairs and $18.98. And upstairs in Artemisia's, it's $18.98. Okay, still a really good deal for a four-course meal. Okay. But as I was thinking about how much we charged, only $9 and $12, I thought, well, what would we actually sell it for if we use the concepts that we teach in RSTO 2301? Mainly the food cost percentage method, okay? And so for this, we are going to essentially cost out an entire four-course menu, including bread. And then we're going to use those recipe costs in order to determine what we should sell our actual menu for, okay? We are going to do two things. We're first going to apply a 30% food cost over the whole menu, okay? Then, if you think about what we talked about in chapter 4 last week, about the different menu categories having different percentages, we're going to apply different percentages to different menu categories, and then you'll be able to determine which method produces a higher menu selling price. So, at the end of your project, you're going to answer these 5 questions. The biggest bulk of this project is costing out the recipes. So that's why we're going to get started now rather than trying to wait until after spring break. I've had a student last semester, she just buckled down and finished the project in 2.5 weeks. And then she was just done for the rest of the semester as far as her project. Okay, so it's totally up to you on how you want to do that. This is going to be completed and turned in May 5th. So you're going to first calculate all the recipes, and then you're going to do final calculations. Then you're going to use that final calculations to determine the menu selling price for both methods, a 30% method and the multiple percentage method. Okay, you're going to answer those 5 questions. When you turn your project in, this is a format that I would like you to turn your project in. So I make sure I have all the information that's there. Okay, I do want your project typed and not handwritten. So all of your recipe pages are going to be typed and not handwritten. Okay. So again, everything that you need is going to be in this module. Menu set 2. This is an old menu set. You might recognize some of the recipes. We maybe like pick and chose from the old menu sets to kind of create the new 1898 menu sets. So some of this might look familiar. Okay. But this is our menu set. We have a soup, a salad, an entree, dessert, and bread. So 4-course meal plus bread. Hopefully these recipes look somewhat familiar to you if you have taken 1898's class, the Chef 1300, the Professional Cooking Dining Room Service class. If you haven't taken that yet, well then you're getting a sneak peek on what your recipes are going to look like. Okay. Everything that's highlighted is going to be a recipe that we are going to cost out. So you have all of your recipes here on these 5 pages. Okay. We are going to use this worksheet, the RSTO worksheet, in order to basically write out and cost out our standardized recipes. Okay. So everything that's highlighted is gonna have its own recipe page. The Chef Tech inventory list. This is where you're going to get the majority of your ingredients, the cost of the as purchased cost of the majority of your ingredients, okay? I recommend that you either work off of this list in Canvas, or you can download the list, okay? And we're gonna work through one of our recipes together as a class today, so you'll get to see how we utilize these, okay? Next in our module, our volume to weight conversion website. So this website is going to help us convert from volume measurements into weight measurements. So what does 1 cup of flour weigh? This website will help us convert into that. So that way um, you don't have to memorize those different conversions. Okay, this website's going to help us with that. The semester project notes. I have not put them in here. Give me 1 second. Let me add them. All right, so these semester project notes. This is where I have put any kind of information that is relevant to the project that is not found in the Chef Tech inventory list. Okay. So let me put this in our discussions. All right. So the name of the recipe will be in bold and enlarged. Okay. And then any kind of information about specific ingredients, I will give you that's either not on the Chef Tech inventory list, or I may give you a specific ingredient. For example, let's say there's multiple types of onions. I'm going to tell you whether I want you to use the jumbo yellow onions or the jumbo white onions. That way, when you calculate it, you're using the exact same numbers that I used. Okay. So the semester project notes is a place that you're going to use to get that information. The final calculation sheet we'll go over as we get closer to the end of the semester. Okay. And then the same thing with the semester project. Okay. So let me show you what I do when I want to set up the recipe or get ready to do the project. Okay. I come up here and I right click on the menu set and I open in a new tab. You'll see it pops up right here. The worksheet, I'm going to already have that downloaded on my computer so that way I can access it and I can start typing it. My copy of my Chef Tech inventory, I'm going to copy or open in a new link. My volume to weight, I'm going to open in a new link. And my semester project notes, I'm going to open in a new tab. So I have these 4 tabs ready to go. That's how I set up my project when I'm ready to start working on it. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns so far? Anybody nervous? A little bit? Okay. Um, so now let's look at one of our recipes. So those of you who are on Canvas, make sure you have downloaded the RSTO worksheet. Okay. And you also want to make sure you have downloaded the AP to recipe volume weight page. Okay. So this volume to weight conversion, this hopefully, when you print this out, if you're not working, let's say you're not working on your computer, or let's say you want to use your phone, to figure out your calculations, you can just scan the QR code and that calculator will pop up on your phone. So you can use that on your phone instead of having to use it in a different tab. Okay. This AP to recipe, does that look somewhat familiar? Okay. The only thing that I've added on this form that kind of helps students visualize this is I've added this cost of one recipe unit. Okay. I've added that little column in the middle of what we normally have done from AP to recipe. Okay. So if we did this, if we looked at this, let's take a look at our Chef Tech let's take a look at our RSTO worksheet. On the second page or on the back, okay? This right here is our AP to recipe. And this column right here is that extra column that I added on our diagram, that cost of one recipe unit, okay? One recipe unit cost. Just so you can visualize what that extra column is, okay? It kind of refers to this worksheet here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill out the first page, okay? You're going to put your name. I would go ahead and work. I know you have it printed out, so I would go ahead and work on this, fill it in as we go, and then you can go back and type it later, okay? So go ahead and fill out your name. The menu item we're going to work on is the rub, okay? We have 32 servings. And where do I get that information from? The name of our recipe. So we got rub and it serves 32. Okay. So we've got the rub and it serves 32. That's where we get that little hint. All of your recipes are 32 servings. Okay. They are all set to 32 servings. Next. If you want to put cooking methods and recipe source, you can. Portion size, don't worry about it. Okay. I am primarily for this project, I am primarily looking at our name, the rub, the recipe name, and how many servings. Okay. And then we're going to go and type in all of our items. So let's do our items. So we have chili powder. And how much do we need of chili powder? 8 tablespoons. Okay. Next we have salt. And we need 2 teaspoons. Okay. It's not very difficult. Garlic powder. And we need 2 teaspoons. Chicken breasts, we need 32 each. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns so far? Anybody online have any questions?
I just have one, Mr. Uminski.
Yep.
The For this rub right here, the items, the amounts and everything, it's gonna be the same for all the other recipes that we gotta do too, right?
Say that one more time.
The rub, how you're showing us to do it right here, it's gonna be the same if we were doing like the chicken marinade and the pecan honey sauce. It's gonna be the same methods, right?
Yes, the exact same methods, correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so now one of the benefits of doing this in Word on the computer is you don't have to retype everything. You just highlight it, copy, Control C is copy, Control paste, Control V is paste. Okay, so go ahead and flip it over, and we're gonna put this in the ingredient column. The amount we're gonna put in the recipe amount column.
You want us to fill out procedure?
No, procedure, don't worry about procedure. No, this project is primarily focusing on the math portion. Chef will go over all the other stuff for you guys. Okay. So I have it up here on the board, so you don't have to flip your page back and forth. If you don't want to. So chili powder, salt, garlic powder, and chicken breasts. 4 ingredients. We need 8 tablespoons, 2 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and 32 each chicken breasts. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to fill out our as purchased amounts. Okay. What it cost us and how much did we actually purchase. Okay. So to do this, the first place that I would look is in your semester project notes. Okay. So in my semester project notes, I have 2 ingredients. Chicken breasts, 129 each from the Chef Tech inventory list, and salt is 2 cents per ounce. Okay. So 129 each and 2 cents per ounce. So I come up here and I type in chicken breasts, $1.29 each. Salt, 2 cents per ounce. Okay, so the cost is the dollar amount. The purchase amount is the amount that is listed in the Chef Tech inventory list. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns so far? All right, now let's look at chili powder and garlic powder. From our Chef Tech inventory list, okay, we use the Control F function. That's going to give us that find box up at the top right corner of our block of our web page. And I'm gonna type in chili. Okay. So here it tells me that chili appears 1 out of 2 times. Am I looking for chili sauce? No. Rotel tomato with green chili. Am I looking for that? Nope. Those are our 2 examples of chili. So do you say, Mr. Uminski, it's not on the list? No. We might change our search, right? So what's the other word in chili powder? Powder. So let's look for powder instead. So of course, we're not looking for powdered sugar, but look at that, chili powder. Okay. Chili powder is $9.43 for 18 ounces. So $9.43 for 18 ounces. And you'll notice the reason why it didn't come up, because it wasn't spelled the same. When we type something into that search box, it is looking for that exact spelling. So I had a student one time come up to me and she's like, Mr. Uminski, I learned that raspberries has a P in them. And I was like, yes, it does. She couldn't find raspberries in the thing. And then she finally realized, oh, there's a P in raspberries, and that's why it wasn't coming up. Okay. It's an easy mistake to make. It's a silent P. Um, but so yeah, so sometimes it's easy to look for specific words. Okay. So chili powder is 943 for 18 ounces. All right. And then garlic powder. And the benefit of doing powder is it's in both words, so we just hit enter until we get to garlic powder, and it is $4.93 per 1 pound. $4.93 per 1 pound. Okay, so we'll write that in. All right. So now your information should look just like this. So a lot of this project's going to be a lot of like setting things up, getting things ready to then start doing the math. Okay. So which one of these ingredients do we want to start with? Serena, which one, looking at the purchase amount and the amount needed, Serena, which one would you want to start with? The salt? Let's pick an easier one. What's the easiest one? Which one has the units that match? The chicken breast, right? So this one's something that's like, so when you're doing your project, there's nothing that says you have to start at the top ingredient and work your way down, right? Go ahead and do the ones that have the exact same units from the purchase amount and the amount needed. Because that way there's less that you have to do as far as conversions. Okay, so let's do this one together. We do the AP to recipe. Okay. And so our as purchased is $1.29 per each. And we need 32 each. So my units match. That's awesome. Okay. And what's even more awesome is that it's already the cost of 1 unit. So all I have to do is combine these two columns into one and combine it to $1.29 each. Remember, this is the cost of 1 recipe unit. Because our goal is, now that we have the cost of 1 recipe unit, we're going to multiply by the amount that we need to get our ingredient cost. So $1.29 times 32 is $41.28. So that's what I would put in right here. $41.28. Any questions on how we got that 41.28? All right, so that's the easy one. Okay. That's the easy one. We got that out of the way. Now let's go with salt. Okay. So one thing we want to remember is if we're looking in this amount needed column, and we have anything that is volume, that's cup, tablespoon, teaspoon, quart, gallon, pint. Those are all volume measurements. So if there's anything that's a volume measurement, we have to first ask ourselves, is this ingredient dry or liquid? Why do we have to ask ourselves, is this ingredient dry or liquid? Any thoughts?
They weigh differently.
Go ahead, Russell, what'd you say?
They weigh differently.
Yeah, if it's a dry ingredient, it weighs differently. If it's a liquid ingredient, how many ounces are in 1 cup if it's liquid? 8 ounces, right? It's 8 ounces of volume in 1 cup if it's liquid. But 8 ounces of flour, which is a dry ingredient, does not weigh, 1 cup of flour does not weigh 8 ounces. Okay. So we always have to ask ourselves, is it dry or is it liquid? Okay. If it's, let's say I'm measuring out vanilla extract, a tablespoon of vanilla extract. What do I convert a tablespoon of vanilla extract to? And convert it into ounces. How many ounces is 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract? Half of a fluid ounce, right? Okay, so if I want to do a tablespoon of brown sugar, that doesn't weigh a half an ounce, it weighs something different, okay? So that's why your first question should always be, is this dry or is it liquid? If it's liquid, we can use those conversions that we know, okay? If it's dry, I've got to use this website, okay? So if it's dry, I've got to use this website. And let's talk about this website for a moment. I would like you to change your precision to 2. I don't know why it's not letting me. Usually a drop-down box comes out. Maybe I need to fill it in. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, so you want to make sure your precision is 2. And what that means is when it gives you an answer, it's going to give you 2 decimal places. Okay, I'm going to show you why that's important in a moment. Okay, so what are we looking for? How much do we need? How much salt do we need for our recipe? 2 teaspoons. So I type in the number 2, I hit tab. Every time you update one of the fields, it's going to blink and kind of reset the calculator. Okay, I'm going to select US teaspoon. And then I want to do salt. Okay. When I use this calculator, it gives me a whole lot of ingredients. Am I looking for almonds dry roasted without salt? That's not the ingredient I'm looking for. I'm looking for salt. Okay. Now it is alphabetized. So we can come right here to salt, and we see a lot of different types of salt here. Okay. If the recipe just says salt, what kind of salt are we looking for? Table salt, okay, or iodized salt, okay? We're looking for this iodized salt. It's just that regular salt. If it wants a specific type of salt, like kosher salt, the recipe will ask you for that, okay?
Is it different brands too?
Yep, different brands. Yep. Okay, so now our 2 teaspoons of salt, I've selected the item, I've gotten 2 decimal places. Now I've got right here ounces and pounds. I have 0.42 of an ounce, or I have 0.03 of a pound. Which number do you think I should use? Should I use the 0.42 or should I use the 0.03? Anybody online have something to have a guess?
0.03,
Soraya, what'd you say?
the 0.03,
Okay, why would you choose the 0.03?
because it says kilograms and pounds.
Okay, so the 0.03 is for pounds, the 0.42 is for ounces. So based on our page, look at our recipe page. What is the as purchased unit in our recipe page? Right here in our recipe page, what is our as purchased unit?
Ounces.
Ounces, right? So if I were to select the 0.03 per pound, or not per pound, but 0.03 pounds, I'd have to do more conversions. So always look at what your as purchased unit cost is, or sorry, as purchased unit amount is, and then use that unit. That way you don't have to do a whole lot of conversions. So we're gonna go ahead and use the 0.42 ounces, okay? So I'll show you where that goes. This 2 teaspoons equals 0.42 ounces. Okay, and so now my units match. So let me show you what that looks like when we do the AP to recipe. AP to recipe. Okay. 0.2, so 2 cents per ounce. My recipe, I need 2 teaspoons. So I'm gonna hit those 2 teaspoons, I'm gonna cross them out and make it 0.42 ounces. See that so far? And now, what is our recipe unit cost? Remember, we have that column, which is 1 recipe unit. In this case, it's the same again. We already have it together, 2 cents per ounce. Two per ounce. Okay. And now I have my 2 cents per ounce, and I can multiply by my 0.42. So 2 cents per ounce times, I'll write it down here so it's a little bit more clear. 2 cents per ounce times 0.42 ounces is equal to 0.0084. What does that round up to? One whole penny. 1 cent. So remember, we are going for money, so it's just these 2 decimals. We look at that third one. If there's any number in the third one, we always round up to the nearest penny. So that would round up to 0.1, 1 cent. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns so far? Yes, sir.
In one of these recipes, is the recipe unit cost, is that gonna differ? So like for garlic powder, okay, so like for chicken breast, our recipe unit cost didn't change. It stayed $1.29. Is it gonna change for garlic powder? And if so, how does that affect what we do?
Yeah, let's do garlic powder. That's a great question. Yeah, so for salt, in garlic powder or chicken breast, it's been the same. We just combine that purchase cost with the purchase amount. So we're already, when we have our purchase amount that's already in one unit, that's when you just combine the two. Okay, so that's a good question about garlic powder. So let's do that one. Okay. So garlic powder is $4.93 per pound, and we need 2 teaspoons. Is garlic powder a dry or liquid ingredient?
It's dry.
It's dry, which means we have to use our website. Okay. I already have 2 teaspoons. So type in garlic powder. Luckily for this one, it's the only option. Okay. And so now if we take a look here, we have 0.23 of an ounce, or we have 0.01 of a pound. Which one are we going to use?
0.23.
You want to use the 0.23?
Oh, I guess it is in pounds, yeah, so we should use the 0.01.
Yeah, so if we look here, our garlic powder is already in 1 pound. So it might be easier to go ahead and say this equals 0.01 pound. Okay. So Andre, unfortunately, we are going to go ahead and just combine these two because our units are the same. But I'll show you how it differs in the chili powder. Okay. So $4.93 per pound. And we multiply that times 0.01, and it gives me 0.049, which gives me a total of 5 cents. Okay, so let me draw that out for you so you can see it visually. AP to recipe. So we start with $4.93 per pound. My recipe is 2 teaspoons. Then that 2 teaspoons is equal to 0.01 pound. I'm going to combine, because it's already in pounds, $4.93 per pound times the 0.01 is 0.0493. I'm going to go ahead and look at that third number and round it up to 5 cents. And that's my answer. Okay, so what I would like is as you practice, as you're going through these recipes, okay, what I would like is for you to be able to, if you send me an email and say, Mr. Uminski, I am not getting this particular ingredient. I would love if you just send me a picture of this right here. Then I can see your step by step and I can see where the mistake is happening. Okay. But if you just say, Mr. Uminski, I don't know where I'm going off. I don't know where I'm getting wrong. Here's my work. I have had this. Let me show you. I've had students, I'll reply, hey, just send me your work and I'll be able to tell where you're getting things wrong. And they'll send me this right here with no math. Okay. Well, obviously these answers are not the correct answers if you're not getting the quiz right. So what I need to see is your math. Okay. And if you do the AP to recipe, it's really easy for me to see that format step by step. Okay. So now let's address Andre's question about what do we do when things are not the same. Okay. So let's set up our AP to recipe to start. Okay. $9.43 per 18 ounces. Okay. And we need 8 tablespoons. It's our AP to recipe. Okay. So now we come to our, well, first of all, 8 tablespoons of chili powder. Is chili powder dry or liquid? It's dry. So we come to the website, okay? Spices, chili powder, but we need 8 tablespoons. Okay? So looking at these two numbers right here, let's highlight them in yellow so we can see. Which of these two numbers would we use? The 2.26 or the 0.14?
0.26.
Why 2.26?
Almost an ounces.
Yeah, so if we take a look, we have ounces and we have ounces. Okay? So there's still going to be a little bit of conversions in math, but not as much. Okay? So this 8 tablespoons is actually equal to 2.26 ounces. So let's go back to our Word document so we can see things a little bit clearer. Okay? Now, do my units match? We do. We have ounces and we have ounces. So now our units match. So now we got to get down to the cost of 1 recipe unit. How do we get down to the cost? How do we go from $9.43 for 18 ounces to find the cost of 1 ounce?
You divide the 943 by 18.
$9.43 divided by 18 ounces. Okay. And that is going to equal 0.523. I know it's a whole long number after that, but I don't care because even if there's another number in that third spot, I'm going to round up to the nearest penny. So it's going to be 53 cents per ounce. Okay. So 53 cents per ounce. And this 8 tablespoons is equal to 2.26 ounces. Now, when you are doing your project, I want you to keep the volume measurement and I want you to have the equals into the weight measurement. Okay? Why do you think I want you to keep the volume measurement? Any thoughts?
So we don't have to convert it back, maybe?
Yeah. See, so this we're converting it to the weight so we can find out the cost. But if I give somebody my recipe and it has 2.26 ounces of chili powder, that's a long time for them to be able to try to measure out on a scale what 2.26 ounces is. But you can give them this page and it's going to have 8 tablespoons and they can easily measure 8 tablespoons. Okay. That makes sense? So we're using the weight measurement in order to calculate the cost. But to actually make the recipe, 8 tablespoons is a lot easier to measure quickly than 2.26 ounces on a scale. Okay, so I want you to keep that. Anytime we convert from a volume to a weight, I want you to keep it and just put equals. Okay, so when we multiply that 53 cents times the 2.26 ounces, now when we multiply, when I multiply, I get 1.197, which gives me $1.20. Okay. Gives me $1.20. So right up here, I type in $1.20.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So just to make sure I understand this right, we had to divide the chili powder because the other ones like salt, garlic powder, and chicken breast, they were in units of 1 or each. Since chili powder is in a purchase amount of 18 ounces, is why we had to divide it to figure out how much it is for 1.
Correct, exactly, yeah, so these recipe amounts were already in the unit of one. So we just combined these two columns into this one. But because, just like you said, because this was not in the unit of one, the units match ounces and ounces, but in order to multiply this times this equals this has to be in 1 ounce or one measurement, whatever that measurement is. Okay, good question. Any other questions so far about these 4 ingredients? All right. So now what do you think we're gonna do? We're gonna add them all up. Okay, we're gonna add all these up. We get $42.54. $42.54. That is gonna go right here in your subtotal, 54 cents. That is our subtotal. Okay. Now, if you want to, when you're doing your project, if you want to delete all of these extra rows, you can, but you can keep them there too. It doesn't matter. Okay. I like to keep them there. That way, everything is just on 2 pages for every recipe. Okay. So our subtotal. Now, let's talk about this section. Our Q factor for the purposes of this project. Our Q factor is going to be 5%. Our Q factor for everything is going to be 5% of the recipe cost. Okay. So our Q factor is the subtotal times 0.05. Our Q factor is the subtotal times 0.05. So $42.54 times 0.05. Remember, each time we're going to round up to the nearest penny. So 42.54 times 0.05 gives me $2.13. $2.13. Okay. Our total recipe cost is going to be our subtotal plus our Q factor. So just add these two numbers together. That's our total recipe cost. Okay. And finally, the last math. Our portion cost is the total recipe cost divided by 32 servings. The total recipe divided by 32 servings. We round to the nearest penny, so $1.40. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about how we got any one of these 4 answers? The last 4 questions on every single quiz for the recipes. The last 4 questions are subtotal, Q factor, recipe cost, and portion cost. Those are the last 4 questions on every single quiz. Okay. So if we go to a quiz for example, rub. It's worth 8 points. The last 4 questions are subtotal, Q factor, total cost, and per portion cost, which means there's the last 4 questions of every quiz. So if you take the total number of points for the quiz and subtract 4, that's how many ingredients are in the recipe. Okay? So you can always look at a recipe and be like, okay, this one's gonna be a long recipe or it's gonna be a short recipe. Okay, so if you want to knock out the short ones first, go for it. Okay, but this is how this works. Okay, I need you guys to help me out with this because I don't remember. What was our total chili powder cost? $1.20. Okay, the salt was 1 penny, right? Okay, 1 penny. Garlic powder was 5 cents.
50.
I know I made a mistake, but that's an intentional mistake. I'll show you why. Okay, our chicken breast.
28.
Okay. Recipe subtotal, 42, 54. The 5% of the Q factor is 13. Recipe cost was then 44.67. And then our total portion cost is $1.40. Okay, cool. Okay, so now I put all my answers in, take the quiz, and I hit submit quiz. Check my answers. I got a grade of 7 out of 8. Okay, so I can look and see these are all correct. This one is wrong. Okay. Everything else is correct. So, whatever ones, and you may do a quiz and you may have 2 incorrect, you may have 7 incorrect. I don't know. Okay, it just depends on what the recipe is. So then next time you go through, focus on one ingredient. Okay, don't try to fill out everything else. We know everything else is correct, right? And so let's focus on that one ingredient, the chili powder. Well, I realized that I put it in as 50 cents instead of 5 cents, okay? So I'm gonna check my math just on that one ingredient. I'm gonna hit submit. Canvas is gonna tell me you have unanswered questions. That's okay, don't worry about it. Now, if I come here and my grade is 1, that means I got it right. Because I only answered one question, right? If you try to fill out everything with including your new answers, whatever the total number of the attempt is, you still have to scroll through to figure out, did you get it actually right? Okay, and so now that we got it right, now we can go back and take the quiz one more time and put all the correct answers in, and then we'll have 100 on the quiz. Okay? You have 99 attempts on every single quiz. I've seen some, because as you're learning the process, I've seen some students take 7 or 8 attempts on one ingredient as they work through the process. My end goal is that you'll get the right answer. So if it takes you 7 attempts or takes you 10 attempts, I don't care as long as you get the right answer. Because each time you make a mistake, you're learning what not to do in the future. Okay? So you might make a lot of mistakes to begin with. But my goal is as you go through the project, you'll make less and less mistakes with your recipes. Okay? So any questions, comments, concerns about the rub recipes or the project in general? All right. So for the rub recipe, because we have done this already as a class, I would recommend that you try to do the recipe on your own without watching the video. Okay? And then if you need to go back to the video to reference it, go for it. But try your best and see what it's like without using the recipe or without using the video. Okay? I'm gonna go ahead and change the due date from March 17th to February 24th. That's next week. Okay? We've already done it, so you already have all the answers. Okay? But again, I would recommend that you try the recipe on your own without watching the video, see if you can get it. And if you don't get it, then go back to the video for reference. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to change is your project prep. I'm gonna change those to the 24th as well. Because that will basically be like your review of, you can use your time when we're not gonna meet on the 19th. You can use that time in class and to do those two quizzes, okay? It's basically just like a kind of an introduction to how to read the Chef Tech inventory list and kind of go over the information that we talked about during the project introduction. So those two quizzes are going to be due on Monday as well. Okay, since we're not meeting on Wednesday, you'll have some extra class time to work on those. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If you do want to work ahead on the project, okay? If you do want to work ahead, the next recipe that is due in our syllabus is going to be the raspberry sauce. And it's not due until, I may change these dates because that gives you a whole month to work on one recipe. I may change those dates. But I would go to this syllabus first to figure out what recipe is gonna be due next. How about this? You know what? I won't change the due dates. Okay? I won't change the due dates. The next recipe is gonna be basically due in a month, the raspberry sauce. But in the next month, you can work on any recipes that you want to try to get ahead. Okay? If you want to work in this exact order, then you can come to this page here and you can see what order I have the menu set recipes in. Okay? But if you want to just wait until the 24th of March to get started with the next one, but if you do that, take a look. You've got menu sets due every single week after that. So anything you can do between now and the March 24th, give you a little bit of less work to do moving forward, okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Again, don't forget, we are not meeting on Wednesday on the 19th because I like to keep my classes together. My Thursday class is not meeting because I'm at a conference. So that means our class will not meet on Wednesday, okay? I'm gonna go in and do a set attendance for Wednesday. Basically a free day, everybody gets counted present. Alright, so I don't forget. Anything else? If not, I'm gonna end the Zoom so I can start processing the video and I will add it to our recorded lectures.
Real quick, Mr. Rominski.
What's that?
Sorry. Did you get my email? I believe it was last Wednesday or last Monday, but it was that project we did in class.
Yes, I got your email.
Okay, cool.
thank
All right, I
you.
just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you all so much. I'll see you next week on Monday. We'll go over chapter 5 from the textbook.